I want to start by, first of all, telling you just a little bit about Sierra Leone, because I think most Canadians have a really hard time understanding what it's like to live in Sierra Leone. So Sierra Leone was completely devastated by a civil war from 1991 into 2002, and this really took a hard toll on the education system. So this devastated more than 1,200 schools, which were completely demolished, and at the end of the war, more than 67% of all school-aged children were out of school. And what that means today is that only 48% of the population over 15 is actually literate. Primary education in Sierra Leone is free, but there's a massive shortage of schools, there's a massive shortage of teachers, and resources such as books are not that readily available. So 40% of our teachers are actually untrained and themselves might only have primary level education. So it's kind of within this context where we started thinking, how do we improve that quality of education? Our schools, as Wanda already mentioned, the classrooms are massive. We have grade 4 teachers who have 75 kids in their class. So how do we actually engage those kids and help them to learn? And then in addition to that, they really like the rote teaching model in Sierra Leone. So it's not very entertaining or engaging for kids. It's tough to really get kids to be learning. Girls have a particularly difficult time making it past primary school. Early pregnancy and early marriage is very common in Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone actually has one of the highest levels of adolescent pregnancy in the world, and girls often are married as young as 11. So CAUSE works in 5 different districts in Sierra Leone, but all of our education programs are focused on the Koinadugu region, which is a very rural region, and as Wanda already showed you the pictures of the roads. In addition to having poor quality of education and very large classrooms, getting to school, accessing schools is very difficult. Koinadugu has terrible roads, but it also doesn't have any power. So if you're going to run a computer, you have to have access to either a generator or solar power. There's very little plans to supply the area with internet access because there's just no demand for it. There's no one who can afford to pay for internet there. In our programs, we regularly see kids failing the West African senior secondary exam. This is the exam that they really need to pass if they want to go to university. But even at a primary level, very few kids are passing the national primary school exam because the quality is just so poor. So CAUSE Canada started our education programs in the Koinadugu district in 2006, and then we introduced the ILRC, the Integrated Learning Resource Center, and the mobile learning years after that. And both were really focused on providing access to quality learning resources. And at first, this was really about books, and this was about computer skills. But I think that, as Wanda was telling you a little bit about that evolution this morning, I just really want to say that as we've had access to the Rachel, it has really changed the focus of all of our mobile learning and all of our work at the ILRC. And it's become really about what kind of educational tools are available using technology. It's not about learning technology, and the kids can quickly figure that out. The ILRC is a building. We have a library there, which is in the middle picture. And then we have a couple classrooms, and in these classrooms we do both directed learning, where our teams will work with the students to do some introductory around a lesson or help them work through some different lessons on the computers. But then they will also just say, guys, like, this is your time, you go and do what you want, we'll circulate and help. So this is much more guided than just like a clear self-directed learning. It is a bit supported, but it is allowing the children to really take advantage of all these educational tools on the computers and on the Rachel. The mobile learning has really grown over the last couple years. Suddenly we've gone from having to carry books and computers and having to have a vehicle to get everything out there. First of all, we've gotten a better truck, so that's helped us just with that. But also now, because of the Rachel and because we're using more tablets and we're using much smaller computers, we're able to put everything in a backpack. We don't have to take all these books. And we can put everything in a backpack and get on a motorcycle and go out. And the kids love it. really love the technology and love the information that's being provided. I remember taking this picture where we were facing the computer, and the kids are really, really engaging in subjects they would never have the opportunity to study at school. I know science was a really popular one in this one classroom because the school has no science teacher, and so the kids would never have that opportunity to learn about technical science skills. So as you can see, most of the kids they usually work in groups of 3, and then they sit there and they agree on a subject that they're going to learn, and they sit there and they scribble notes madly for review later on. And it's really exciting to see how they're really engaging with the materials, how they're learning things that they would never have access to. If we're going to do an education program, we need to have 3 components. We really need to be working with the community to help support kids in quality education. We need to be working with the kids and motivating them and breaking down some of the barriers for kids to go to school. But then we also need to be talking about the supply. And so if you have a teacher who is teaching 74 kids or 75 kids, how do we increase their capabilities as a teacher to manage that classroom, to do a better job? And so I think we are really looking deeply into that, and I hope we can maybe have some more conversations during our roundtables or during the networking around how do we increase the capacity of teachers to be better teachers, to provide better quality education. The other thing that we are really excited about is about the idea that in so many of the places where we're working, there might be a primary school, but it's too far for the girls to go to a secondary school. And I'm saying girls specifically because the danger in so many of the roads and where they have to go. So in Guatemala and Honduras, where we're working, I started to tell some of our nurses about this idea that, we have these mobile learning labs in Sierra Leone, and suddenly they were like, you know what, we would keep all sorts of girls in school if we could just have access to these kinds of resources. If we could put some of the distance education onto these resources and help the girls to learn, and then they just need to go and challenge their national exams when time comes. How do we continue to build our quality of education in Sierra Leone using these tools, and just what kinds of resources? And I think that's another area where I'm really interested to hear from you about what other resources are available that we could put onto a Rachel that would really be helpful in improving kids' quality of education.